Good day. I am Bandola, and today I am going to present the study about variable that affects the student's written communication skills in second language. This study was conducted at Cabao National High School. Earlier before, there was no high school in Barangay Cabao. Only a few students could afford to enroll in the public or private school in Irusin, the town proper. In 1968, due to increasing graduates from elementary school, the principal of Cabao Elementary School, Mr. Gian Elohena, in cooperation with the PTE officials and Barrio Council, suggested the opening of a Barrio High School. This was approved by the school's division superintendent, Dr. Martha E. Mogol. Its initial operation was in school year 1968 to 1969, first year and second year level, with two secondary teachers whose salary derived from the tuition fees collected from the students. Classes were done inside classroom made up of nipa, bamboo, and coconut trunks. After its fifth year of operation, it had to be stopped due to insufficient funds. The tuition fees were no longer enough for the salary and honorarium of teachers. Not long after, a concerned citizen of the place, Mr. Jesus Ayo, the president of the Samahang Nayon, a farmers' organization coordinated with the parents, submitted a proposal for the reopening of the Barangay High School. The Ministry of Education, through the strong recommendation of Dr. Armando Dieter, the school's division superintendent, approved it. The reopening of classes started in July in the school year 1974-1975. Mrs. Elsie Zamor and Miss Nelly Efolikino, who were both graduates of BSE, were assigned as advisors of 72 freshmen and 22 sophomores respectively. Again, honorary intermediate teachers were given load assignments. This time, the students occupied a Marcus-type building. Tuition fees were collected in addition to the subsidy from the national government to support its operation. Currently, the school does not ask for tuition fees anymore. Gabao National High School is an institution of learning not only for the young people of Gabao, but also the nearby barangay of Tungdol, Bulawan, Gumapia, and Gulang-Gulang. So currently, there are 11 senior high school teacher, 38 junior high school teacher, 6 non-teaching staff, 5 job orders led by the principal, Mrs. Josephine Interia. There are 1,115 enrolled senior high school and junior high school students. 210 of them are grade 7. We are currently in the COVID-19 pandemic, and this pandemic has changed the world. Because of its nature, particularly on how it is transmitted, human behaviors, relations, and lifestyles has changed. And the education department has to change its modalities to still provide quality education even in these trying times. And the most famous modality is the modular learning. In the modular learning, teachers are asked to provide modules or learning activity sheets and provide intervention in the safest possible way. And the student's job is to understand that learning activity is to learn from that learning activity sheets or modules and answer questions asked. Since this system is still new, teachers are still trying to figure out how to best implement it. And one of the frequent questions that they ask for reflection is, why does students don't answer most of the questions to the learning activity sheets? Teachers feel like, I already simplified it. I made the questions easy. I even made the content shorter. I already did my best. So why? So to answer that question, this paper is aimed to identify the factors that causes students poor written communication skills in the second language. Analyze how those factors affect students poor written communication skills in the second language. discuss ways on how to enhance students' written communication skills in the second language. To prove the hypothesis that grade 7 students has poor written communication skills, I asked the 15 co-teachers to participate in the pre-survey, and the result of the survey said that students have poor written communication skills. The teachers, my co-teachers, based their answers to the survey from the learning activity sheets submitted by the students. Framework. Students' poor written communication skills. The helical model of communication. It was introduced by Frank Dance on 1967. According to this model, the process of communication is like a continuous curve with some changes or flexibility. The base of the helical curve can be affected and or altered at any time according to the experience of an individual. I used this model in constructing questions to understand why students have poor written communication skills. Because according to this model, the communication process is a result of what we learned. So that's why I go deeper to the experience of the students, to the input provided to them. Also, I use the mental model. It is the concept first introduced in the book The Nature of Exploration by Kenneth Kirk in 1943. It is a psychological term which refers to the mental illustrations that explains a person's thoughts and behaviors. I use this mental model in analyzing the answers of the students, in analyzing how those experiences affects the students' poor written communication skills. Because according to this model, everything that we see is represented as model in our brain. So I tried to find out how does the students represent their experiences. Methods. Qualitative design with a focus on the case study methods. I used the qualitative design to find out how does a certain actions affects the students' written communication skills. I focuses on the case study method to understand and explain how to explain better the causes of the students' poor written communication skills, to understand the students' written communication skills, to understand the students' written communication skills itself. 5 grade 7 students participated in the study. These 5 students were asked to participate were identified by analyzing their performances and their answers to the past learning activity sheets modules. Their answers to the learning activity sheets or modules on the first quarter and second quarter. 2 of these 5 students are underprepared in English writing, 1 male, 1 female. 2 are fluent in English writing, 1 male and 1 female, and 1 average students. I asked the underprepared student, I included the underprepared students and the fluent in English writing student to know why some students were able to acquire fluency in English writing and while others are not. And I also used the average student to support my claims. Survey form and interview were utilized. Survey form were used to get the profiles of the students. Interview, on the other hand, is used to get the necessary information like the experiences of the students. The reason why students have poor written communication skills. The researcher used audit trails. Audit trails, it is a record of the whole study, from the development, the conduct, and the reporting of the study. I kept that record for trustworthiness. Results and discussions. The main reason of students' poor written communication skills in L2 is their incompetence in the use of English. Longchaba and Sencuba 2019 explains that writing is a way of communicating and language is a communicative medium. It means that if the students lack knowledge on a certain language, it is impossible for that individual to write in that language. Reasons why students lack language literacy. One reason, according to my study, is lack of exposure to the target language. Underprepared in English writing students said that they are not exposed to the English, and they only encounter the target language at school. Jones 2016 cited that language exposure helps the child have larger vocabulary. So if the child are not exposed to the target language, it is impossible for them to be fluent in that target language. Lacks of guidance from parents. It is mentioned by the underprepared in English writing students that they do not get help most of the time from their guardian. Fluent and average students, on the other hand, said that their parents are there to guide them in learning. Ramirez-Lytle, Cole 2020, noted that parental language input is one of the best predictors of children's language. It is important that children get parental guidance. It does not necessarily mean that the teachers are going to teach them the grammar. Sometimes it could be like just simply by guiding them to read. Parental language input is important, or parental language guidance is important. Also, inadequate reading practice. Students who are underprepared in English writing said that they are not fond of reading, while the fluent and average students said that they read all the time. Krashen 1989 claimed that comprehensible input in the form of reading makes a significant contribution to language acquisition. Through reading, students are exposed to how language are used in real context, so that's helped them to be fluent in English. So if they are not fond of reading, it will be hard for them to learn the target language. It's like they are learning the target language in isolation. Readiness for the target language. One of the underprepared students in English writing and the two fluent in English writing said that they will feel intimidated if they use Filipino in English class. The average student and one student who is underprepared in English writing said that they did not feel intimidated and that it is just okay with them if they use Filipino in answering. So it is to be noted that the one underprepared students in English writing who said that she will feel intimidated if she used Filipino in English class goes as far as understanding the learning activity sheets. While the other underprepared in English writing who said that he will not feel intimidated if he used Filipino in English class is finding it hard to understand the learning activity sheets. So therefore, it is to be concluded that we must put at the beginning of the learning of the second language, the students must know the importance of learning the language, of talking the language. But of course, throughout the journey, you must not force them to be someone who they are not. We must accept that the students are not a native speaker of that language. They are a learner of that language and that they have a first language. So we must allow them to use their first language. But of course, if they already acquired the necessary skills in the second language, sometimes we must give them a push to be fluent on the English language. It means asking them to speak in the target language, because according to the interview, that when I asked the average student if she will feel intimidated if she talks Filipino in the English class, she said no. And she said that she uses Filipino in answering questions orally. On the other hand, those fluent in English writing said that they will feel intimidated if they use Filipino in an English class. So probably those average student is on the process of acquiring fluency. So that's why that average student need a little push to acquire fluency, which means at that the child is already in the stage where we can force them to speak, to use the second language. Students should not be allowed to hold on to the security blanket of their L1 far too long, and neither should they be thrown out with the bath water too early. Mahed and Stacy, 2012. Absence of remediation. Students said that they did not receive remediation when they failed to meet the objectives. When I asked the students if they get remediation, they said that they don't. And when I asked them how many of their classmates they think are good in talking and writing in English, they give numbers which is less than 30%. So that is quite questionable, because according to Verbosidad, the failure to address lack of English proficiency tests would affect students' future performances. So probably, if the students fail to meet the objectives on a certain level of learning, it will be hard for the students to catch up on the more complex learning, on the more complex topic. Therefore, it is important that to address the needs of the students beforehand. Conclusion. Writing is a complex process that requires the use of vocabulary and understanding of grammar. How well the individual write will depend on how much knowledge an individual has, not only to the concept but also to the language. The language will determine how the concept will be conveyed and understood. Writing is an important skill that helps an individual of academic performance in successful career. Helps the advancement of academic performance and successful career. It is through writing that an individual can express ideas and notions. Therefore, skills in writing should be learned. This study sought to identify factors that affects the students' written communication skills in L2. According to the result of the study, lack of fluency in the target language is what hinders them in communicating accordingly. The researcher further investigates reason behind the failure of the students to acquire the target language. Seeing it idealistically, since students are already in the secondary level, it is already expected for the students to have enough knowledge in the target language. Hence, lack of fluency in the target language is already considered as failure. Through the interview of the students, factors that contribute to the failure of the acquisition of the target language are identified. They are the exposure, parental input, reading practice, readiness, and remediation. To help the learners enhance their communication skills in L2, these factors should be put into consideration. Recommendations. Students should be provided with enough exposure to practice the language in real context. Students must be provided with enough support and guidance. Students should be provided with easily accessible reading materials. Students' time frame of learning should be respected. Students must be given remediation if necessary. References. That's all. Thank you.